Today, I'm ranking every single book I've read so far in 2026. And let me just say, some authors need to apologize to me because we had books that changed my life because they were so good. Some books absolutely wasted my time. Some books, BookTok literally bullied me into reading. And there are other books that had me sitting in silence, like, oh my gosh, I felt betrayed. This wasn't what I expected. And I'm not doing like a cute little 5-star rating or like a wrap up where everything was just so rosy and gorgeous. No, today I'm just going to be honest about everything. I'm not going to be trying to fluff up books that weren't even that good. I'm going to be honest about every single thing. By the end of this episode, we're going to know which book is the actual best of 2026 so far of all that I've read. Which book was carried by just vibes? Yes, because a lot of these books, BookTok books especially, are just vibes. And which book would I personally need to invoice the authors for? That is what my ranking is going to be like. So grab your Kindle because there are going to be books on your list that you don't want to waste your time. This is going to be my official 2026 mid-year book ranking. And also, there is one book on this list that I absolutely hated while reading it, but then somehow I still give it 4 stars. But you know what? We'll get into the ranking. All right. Now, I have my trusty tier book here. We're going to do the S, A, B, C, D as usual. S being the top and D being the absolute worst. So the S one will be like a God tier, right? It's like the book that just changed my life, like books that actually lived up to the hype. The B tier is going to be like, A tier is going to be like, I get the hype, like really strong books, not necessarily perfect, but absolutely worth reading. B tier would be good, very good books, but maybe overhyped. Like I enjoyed them, but BookTok did too much or Goodreads did too much. Then C will be like, the vibes were really strong. The vibes were stronger than the plot sometimes, actually. So it's like really nice book covers, really nice this, but maybe weak substance. And D would be where I was fighting for my life whilst reading the book. Stuff that got me emotionally exhausted and just wasn't worth my time. And there'll be a special category later where I would ask BookTok to explain themselves for falsely advertising or overhyping a book. It's not even going to make it to the list. BookTok will need to explain themselves to me. So yeah, that's my ranking. And that'll be the criteria. Well, pretty much criteria will be like based on my personal experience. So this is not based on like any sort of literary prestige or like what it's doing, if it's award winning or whatever. I'm ranking it based on the impact it had on me, if it was entertaining, if I was obsessed with it, and whether I had to like sit in silence and stare to the gods when I was done reading. That's what I'm using to like do this. Right. So let me list the books that I've read so far this year. Because you guys know I always have a list. I carry a list. I read 35 books this year, and these are the books. In no particular order, I have Human Acts by Han Kang. I have My Friends by Frederick Bachman. I have My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. I have How the Marquise Was Won by Julian Long. I have The Death of Vivek Orji by Akweze Emezi. The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke. Strangers by Bill Burden. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. The Fisherman by Chigozie Obioma. The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi, A Spell of Good Things by Yobami Adebayo, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, The Deal by El Kennedy, Yellowface by Arif Kwong, Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo, Cursed Daughters by Onyekon Braithwaite, The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. I read some self-help books. It was Science of Getting Rich and I Will Teach You to Be Rich. There's Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, Onyx Storm and Iron Flame both by Rebecca Yarros because it's The Guest List by Lucy Foley, The Mothers by Britt Bennett, All That Life Can Afford by Emily Everett, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, Just Some Stupid Love Story by Caitlin Doyle, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, My Sister the Serial Killer by Onyekon Braithwaite, Rose in Chains by Julie Soto, The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros. Those are the books so far that I've read this year. I'm probably leaving a couple out, but this is just my running list right now. It's about 35 or 37 books. It's a mixed bag. I have books, again, I read like some self-help books. I have romance in there. I have fantasy in there. I have really dramatic books in there. So yeah, just a hush posh of just several different books. Some of them recommended. Some of them were book club recommendations as well. Some of them were just like my side quests, and others were from Goodreads or from Libby recommendations or from BookTok recommendations. That's kind of how I got to this list. Right. Now that you have my list of 35 books that I read this year, like some of them were rereads for sure. Like there's some books that I've read before, but I just read them again. Some of them were, of course, as part of a series. Some of them were absolutely brand new that I never heard before. Some of them were recommendations after a book that I've read, and it's like, oh, you like this author, read this, right? So that's what this is. Right, let's get into the rankings. So excited. I'm going to start with books that deserve their flowers. These were books that were my top, and like they were almost life-changing books. That's what we're going to start with. So I have a few books here. Even though I said I have read 35 or 36 books. I'm not going to rank all of them. For instance, I'm going to take out the romance novels because, yeah, I don't have that much space, but I'm going to do the ones that are really, really important. So starting with the books that I said deserve their flowers. Oh my gosh. The Correspondent is my very first one. This book by Virginia Evans was fantastic. I was locked in. You know what? Not gonna lie. When I started reading it, I was thinking to myself, "This is just a book about letters. Like it's honestly just like picking up a bunch of letters and just reading." And I was thinking to myself, "How is this gonna tie together? Like, how do I follow?" Not gonna lie. Like the first chapter, I was a little lost because I was like, "I'm not even sure what letter. Like, how is this?" The chronology of the letters was throwing me off initially, but as soon as I zoned in and I locked in, it was just flowing. It was beautiful. I literally couldn't stop as soon as I picked it up because it really was almost like you find a box of letters and you're just reading it. So I couldn't stop till I was done. That's how this book got me. And I like a book that starts off like, for me, it started off intriguing because I'm like, I don't even know how this is going to tie together. Like, what is this going to be like? But it worked. It worked because eventually, like, it's one of those things where you just want to keep reading the next letter, the next letter, the next letter, and you're like, oh my gosh, now you're done. So I absolutely loved it. It worked because it was a different style, right? It was letter writing. And by the way, this author can write. Like, the letters were great. So quick summary. The Correspondent is a book about this older woman that's pretty much telling her life story through letters to people to people in her life. So she writes to strangers, she writes to her family members. She just loves writing letters, and I just love how like the book develops her story. Like you eventually, like there was no part missing. I was thinking to myself, like, would I ever find out whatever happened to her son? But through the letter writing, you actually follow her life. You see where she started from. Like, oh, everything was just the crescendo. Everything, it fell at the right time. It peaked at the right time. It was all just so beautiful. I've never read anything like this because it really just it twisted my mind on like how you can write the story from a different perspective, like from letter writing, but still be able to carry your audience along. This book was beautiful. I finished it in one day. That's how good this book was. To be fair, it was on a quick loan, so I had to up it. But yeah, it's really, really beautiful. The best thing about it was just how I felt like there was resolve at the end of everything. Like you were okay with the ending. That's what I like when books end well. I like when there's resolution. I don't like to keep wondering. I love that it ended beautifully. And this book, The Correspondent, is definitely going on the S tier. Okay, it was beautiful, beautiful written. S tier for sure. Correspondent is going on the S tier. It was so good. The next one, I'm doing the books that deserve their flowers, and I just had to start strong with that one. The Guest List. Okay, this is Guest List by Lucy Foley. I really like this one. Again, this is me because I like a perfect whodunit, and what made this perfect was because I guessed the killer from the start. Sometimes I never get it right, or it takes like a few back and forth, but this one, not because it was so obvious, it actually wasn't, because there were so many people could have killed this man, okay? But I was just like, nah, this wedding planner, you are too, do you know what I mean? I just loved it. I love the perfect whodunit, and it was set perfectly, and you could follow every character. It's not like the best this murder mystery out there, but I just liked this one. It was just fun because it was fun. It was a fun read. It was beautifully written, and more than anything, I guess who the killer was from the jump. So I was like, okay, good. That's why this is good on my S tier. I like Lucy Foley. Like she's so modern, and I love, love, love. So guest list for me is definitely going on the S tier just because it was a fun murder mystery where you kind of didn't have to overthink anything and everything just was like flowing. It was beautiful. He deserved it. Honestly, he deserved it. He deserved it. I'm surprised it wasn't like an Agatha Christie where everybody killed him. Everybody had a hand in killing him. But yeah, the next one would be Stay With Me. This is Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo. Oh my gosh, I read this book. It was a recommendation from my friend. I don't even know why hasn't this come on my radar this whole time? That's what I was asking myself. After reading this, all I could think is, why are you just reading this now? Because it's an old book. I believe it's like a 2017 or 20, maybe even older, but it's an old book. And I thought to myself, first of all, why hasn't this been made into a movie? So it's a Nigerian author, so it's a very Nigerian localized book, but it was so good. I haven't read anything like it. I mean, just touches on so many cultural and like societal elements with childbearing, marriages, and most importantly, what is like plaguing like the black. Well, I won't say plaguing black women, but what is common and prevalent in the black community is sickle cell anemia. If you don't know, it's a uh, deformation of your blood cells, and it only affects melanated people. Well, not only melanated people, but people from like tropical regions because of malaria. Da 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 da. Anyways, it touches on that, and I just felt like it was so good. Like there were so many points I was like gasping. I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I kept thinking to myself, why and it touches on like motherhood, just like marriages, just trust. It's just so much that again, why hasn't this been made into a movie? This is the debut novel by Ayobami Adebayo, and honestly, kudos to this author because they wrote something beautiful, and it's gonna go again S tier for sure because Stay With Me. It had me thinking. I almost cried at some point. I did, and it was just beautifully written. Stay With Me is definitely an S tier novel. The next one is, oh my gosh, very recent read for me, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Oh, by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Love, love, love this novel. If you don't know, Taylor Jenkins Reid, very, very, very great writer. I think she's the one that wrote this one. It's an Amazon Prime show where Daisy Jones and the Six. Yes, that's Taylor Jenkins Reid's beautiful book. I mean, again, it's one of those where it's not necessarily like it's not the best book out there, but I just enjoyed it. So the reason why this is going to be an S tier book and why it deserves the flowers is because it was such an enjoyable book. It was easy, was super enjoyable. It was really one of those books that it was straight to the point, even though you might have guessed what the point was, but he told it very, very well. I love the fact that it was this about her seven husbands, but it was really more, if you like obviously paid attention. In the end, she said to you, yes, it's my husband's, but I want everybody to know about my wife. So it touches on queer culture. It touches on like that old Hollywood glamour lifestyle, the sort of things, and just like femininity and just like yeah, just everything that you could think of from that old Hollywood glamour and era, like the parts where you have to hide yourself in order to make it in the world. Like it touches on so much, and I like that the book was able to explore these themes. So we're talking what like literally explores all these things in the best way that it could. I don't mind seeing this as a movie. I literally, as I was reading it, I could picture it as a movie. I thought to myself, someone would play this part really well. Like, and it would be, it was giving me because it was an old Hollywood actress that was on her not deathbed, but she was gonna die soon, and was kind of telling her story to this writer because she wanted her to write a biography, and it was giving me one of those. It's one of those books that is familiar but different. So I know that style because we've sort of seen it before, sort of read it before, but it was just so different. The reason why this is going to be my S tier or going to stay in my S tier is because it was just very enjoyable, and I can absolutely see this as a movie. So yes, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. is going to my S tier. And for me, my S tier books are literally like these authors, I give them their flowers again because this is when an author respects your time. They write something well and they don't waste your time because I like a book that lets, like, once I start reading, I'm locked in. I want a book that I would just be thinking about it throughout my day. Like, I can't wait to get back to it. That's the sort of thing I like to read, not the one that stresses me out. Okay, I'm just going to mention some books that BookTok did right. You know what? Not every viral book is actually bad because I feel like I fell into the trap of reading viral books and like it just really disappointed me and just fell short of expectation. But yes, I'm gonna give TikTok some credit and BookTok some credit, give Goodreads some credit. I hate when BookTok is right because now I have to be humble and be like, oh yes, this was actually a good recommendation. But yeah, it's okay. Yeah, BookTok, you humbled me for henna artist for sure. I was humbled. Vanishing Half, Strangers, that was from Goodreads. I was humbled because that one I truly, truly enjoyed. I'm like, okay, this is not too bad. Yellow Face, yeah, I enjoyed that one as well. That was a book talk recommendation. I'm like, okay, cool, cool, cool. Yesterday was another book talk recommendation that I read. Didn't thoroughly enjoy it, but I'm okay with that recommendation, right? So just wanted to really call that out. But let's get on with the rankings. Right. Strangers. I mentioned Strangers. Strangers was a really, really good book for me. Again, that was a financial lesson and a lesson in just knowing that love is not the answer. It's not a financial plan. You need to know what you're doing in your marriage. I'm going to give Strangers an A. It's going to be on the A tier just because, again, I just feel like it's a memoir. It was written by Bill Burden, and I just feel like it was a good book that everybody just needs to just understand. Like it was such an instructional book. That's why it's going to go on my A tier for sure. Um, whilst I'm on it, I mentioned yesterday. Okay, this is one again. This was a book talk slash Goodreads recommendation, and I read it. I was so excited to read it. Not gonna lie, I was like, oh my gosh. The premise was just very now, with trad wives and everything. So it's about this trad wife that is living her fantasy, and that fantasy becomes a nightmare. Soon we've come to find out. I liked it. I started like the very first few chapters I was following. It was making a lot of sense to me, but I lost it towards the end. So that book for me yesterday, as much as I enjoyed it starting off, it's gonna be a C for me simply because I got lost at the end. I got to some part where I was like, wait, did I skip a chapter? Because I felt like it really just fast forward. It almost like she didn't end it well as far as I'm concerned. I'm like, wait, how did we even get here? It started off really great. I liked her initial look backs and her initial flashbacks, but it got to a point where she completely just lost me in the flashbacks. I couldn't even tell what was the present anymore because yeah, it just got lost towards the end. I would say from like 3/4 of the way to the end, it just got lost. I mean, if how I couldn't understand how I got from, oh, she's actually not in a fantasy world, she's truly living as a pioneer woman, to she's in jail. I just couldn't understand what happened between there and like her going insane or whatever. So for me, it's gonna be a C tier simply because I just got lost in the end, and it started off really strong, but got lost, and that's why it's going to be on the C tier for me. Another book is The Vanishing Half. I read quite a number of black authored books, a lot of Nigerian books as well, and Vanishing Half is one of them. Again, I think I'm late to the party, but again, it doesn't matter. I can read any book at any time. Vanishing Half was really good. I really, really enjoyed that one. It's going to be an A tier for me. If you know Brit Bennett, it's what I think is one of her best books out there, where it talks about colorism and racism in from the lens of twins, where one is super light skinned and the other is super dark skinned. Now, just how their lives ended up being just really, really different because one's light skinned and the other was dark skinned. So that one was really, really good. Yes. So some rereads that I had was by Khalid Hussein's book, The Kite Runner, and what was the other one? Thousand Splendid Suns. So relevant in this. Like, I'm so glad I read it again in this day and age, I would say, in this year, given like what's going on with wars and all that. It was so profound to reread it because I've read these books one like at the time that it came out, because these are really old. We're talking like early 2000 and like 2010s, whatever. And I rereading it now, it literally almost like I'm reading again for the first time. And it was just so relevant to just understand, like, with wars going on, just seeing how and just being able to connect the dots of like, wow, war is actually horrible. And the people that suffer the most are women and children. So Khalid Hussein, Kite Runner, and Thousand Splendid Suns, I am going to give those two, like, they're going to be on my A tier, not going to lie, because it was just, yeah, I read them and I just felt so sad about like the wars going on right now. And I can't put it anywhere lower than an A because, again, fantastically written. Imagine this is book from like over 10 years ago and still being super relevant now, and like you can still relate and connect the dots. So that's where I'm going to put those ones. Another one, this is another one by Brie Bennett, because again, I was reading a lot of Black people books. This is Mothers. Mothers is, I would say, I will give that one a B tier. It wasn't bad because again, I read it, but it wasn't as good as Vanishing Half, I would say. That's why it's going to be on my B tier. Mothers, again, Black people touches on relationships between mothers and their daughters, touches on color again, touches on being queer, and just sexuality. And yeah, there's a lot of themes in there that I feel like she explored really well. I did enjoy, but it wasn't as compelling as Vanishing Half, I would say. But B tier, I think, because there was I had I had some questions, right? So, but it's still good enough. Might as well, whilst I'm still on the Black people books and talking about colorism and stuff and just queerness, Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. Again, read that again this year. Another reread for me. But I read it again and it just still was like so interesting. And I just still felt it as like, wow, this is again just something profound. Giovanni's Room is going to be on my 8th year. Giovanni's Room, just the idea of identity and not being able to really, really express yourself and just like having to hide simply because of who you are, just again, still being relevant in this day and age. Giovanni's Room is going to be on my A tier. Another one, this is the one where I have to ask BookTok to explain themselves. BookTok, or anyone, please explain to me if you've read it. It's not even going to go on my tier because this is a explain yourself situation. The book My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Odessa Moshfegh, whatever her name is. What was that about? What was that book about? Please, someone tell me, chat. Please tell me if you've read this book. Explain to me what was this book about. Not me reading and like thinking, you know what, it's going to get better. It has to. It was 9 chapters, I believe. I'm like, it has to get better. It's just one of the things where I just kept getting sucked in because I'm like, okay, I've read this far. I can't stop now because I'm getting to the good part, right? Like, where does this crescendo? Where does this end? Like, how is this going to end? And it was just like, do you know what I was thinking I was going to be reading? I was thinking to myself, this is going to be one of those self-help books where it will be like, eat, pray, love, you figure out how you can take a year of rest and relaxation and just like, apply some of the principles from the book to your life and just, rest at some point. Nope. It was about a lady just like sedating herself for an entire year and just giving herself up to some strange artist to use her body for whatever. Like, what in the world is this? Am I missing something? Like, a chapter's missing? Oh my God, it was the oddest book ever. Please, I'm not even, this is me genuinely asking for someone to explain to me what this book is about because there was so much hype. So much hype. I'm like, the people hyping this book, do they know what they were reading? Like, am I missing something? Like, do I not know how to read? What the fuck was this about? So please tell me in the comments if you know what this book was supposed to be about because it was the strangest thing ever. And did I miss the name of the main character because her name was never mentioned? As far as I only know her friend's name. Like, again, so much was missing. Like, I'm confused. How is this a year of rest and relaxation? She was just doping herself the whole time. Like heavily sedated the entire year. Someone needs to be arrested for that. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, just continuing on there's another one. Oh my gosh, one that I read that had was like a discussion piece with my friend and I. It was so good. I found it really really nice. Like, and I found resolution. There's the henna artist. Really, it's a series. So there's three books right now. I've only read the henna artist. I don't know if I'll continue reading the rest, but I really liked this one. For me, it was so relatable in an odd way. If just like sibling dynamics and just wanting to help and just wanting to be there, and just seeing someone's life change because of a sibling that they never knew about. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but again, discord around like what should have happened or not happened. But because I really enjoyed it, I enjoyed the writing. I could follow the pace. I could almost like see myself in. Was it Jaipur? Was it set in Jaipur or was it Mumbai? I think it was Jaipur. I might be wrong. Anyways, it was just so beautifully written, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So for me, henna artist is actually going to be A tier for me, because it's seeing someone just try to get out of a bad situation and just struggling and just making it out and doing the best they could for family. So I really really enjoyed that one. Since we're talking of series, I completed the series. So I read Iron Flame and Onyx Storm this year. Yes, I've talked about it in like a previous video. I'm not going to do too much about it, but Iron Flame and Onyx Storm for me will be B tier. B tier. I mean, book talk recommendations a little bit too overhyped as far as I'm concerned. I can't. I mean, I've read it and I love it. I'm gonna wait for the movies, but B tier, B tier, B tier. Let's just do that. Iron Flame. Yes, Iron Flame. All right, and Onyx Storm. Yes, so both of them would go on the B tier. Another one that I read. Whew, that I have questions. Or you can't breathe with. Why? Onyeka Braithwaite, why? Why do you do this to me? So I read two of Onyeka Braithwaite's books this year. So it's Cursed Daughters and My Sister the Serial Killer. My friend recommended these books to me, and I read both of them. I'm just like, Onyeka, why? Why do you always leave the reader with a lot more questions than they got? Like, why? I don't like why. If I ever catch you, you have a lot to answer, because what do you mean? What do you mean with cursed daughters? Why did you end that way? What was that ending? Anyways, Onyeka Birthday, she plays a lot into like female characters. Like both books, My Sister the Serial Killer and Cursed Daughters, was just really about, it was books about women, but of course they're male characters, but she really plays into like this whole feminine thing, and like it's really about female protagonists and stuff. My Sister the Serial Killer was really about the siblings, where one of the sisters was gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous, but she distrusted men so much that she was pretty much killing them off. That's really what it is. And the other sister was just trying to like cover up for her. That's really what My Sister the Serial Killer was about. Cursed Daughters, on the other hand, was just about this family where they had a lot of females in the family, and they seemed to be cursed because they just couldn't keep a man. None of them could keep a man. Yep, none of them could keep a man, and it ended up being like somebody like was reincarnated. The generational thing. It was a bit weird, but I enjoyed that one more than My Sister the Serial Killer. But I still had questions. So Oyinkan, please answer me. What was the ending to this, like the Cursed Daughters? Like, why? What was the ending? Like, what did he mean? I have a lot of questions, but yeah, I'm going to put My Sister the Serial Killer on the C tier. C is Serial Killer, then Cursed Daughters. I would give that a D, because I had too many questions. Not gonna lie, not gonna lie. As enjoyable as it was, because I had zero resolution from it. Like, I was annoyed, babe. I was annoyed. But I was annoyed, not because it wasn't good. I just was annoyed. I don't like when there's some things that you understand why it doesn't have a resolution, but this one needed a resolution that I didn't get. So it's going to the D tier, because, girl, the damage you caused by annoying me is why it's going to be on the D tier. Not because it wasn't good. It's just because, yeah, I'm annoyed. Then another one, since I'm like on Nigerian authors, was Fisherman by what's his name? Obina something. Fisherman. It's about this band of brothers that they were super close, and then they end up just being wrapped up in this emotional or psychological self-inflicted curse. I would say that's really what I'm going to call it, because nothing really happened. Everything was just, as far as I'm concerned, self-inflicted. It was them just believing what they didn't have to. Yes, there are supernatural powers at play sometimes, but I feel like they just were overly, like, it's one of those things where when you play into your fear, it ends up just happening. That's pretty what it was. A series of unfortunate events for this band of brothers, from one dying to one going to prison to it was just flipping chaotic. I'm like, could it get worse for you guys? Could it actually get worse? So yeah, because I was annoyed by just how like emotionally damaging it was, it's gonna be a D. I'm sorry to say. Fantastic writing, but I'm not going to allow anyone destroy me emotionally anymore. So it's going to be a D for me. Speaking of God, emotional damage, Red Rising. This is one that I was a Libby recommendation because it's fantasy. I love fantasy, right? And I'm trying to like read all sorts of different types, but I don't know. So this one was supposed to not be a romantasy, and that's why I was going to read it, because I'm like, yes, I want to read something that where the romance isn't leading here. Red Rising was highly recommended, and I started. It was fantastic. Like the first 10 chapters, I would say I was locked in. I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted to read. This is the style I've been waiting for. This is so different. It's set in outer space. We're in Mars. Da 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 da. And most of all, the best part, the protagonist is a man. He's a young man, but I was like, yes, finally, not a frail young girl, right? Now I can, as a female reader, I want to read about a male protagonist. So I'm like, fantastic, this is great. But then my heart was quickly shattered finding out that this 16-year-old boy is married. And oh fuck, okay, now I can't even fantasize because he's a married man. But his wife dies very quickly, which I was like, thank God. Okay. Anyways, so it's getting good. We're talking about this utopic world where we're trying to usurp the higher powers. The golds are ruling. They're supposed to be the best of the species, whatever. And we get to the point. It gets good for me to up until the point where they've transformed him to be a gold, so he can infiltrate and try to like usurp the powers. So up until the point where they were pretty much molding him and like changing him to be a gold, as they call it. It was fantastic. I'm like, okay, this is getting good. He's going to infiltrate and like things will happen. So he goes over to the other side to join the gold. So there's supposed to be like some sort of training they go through, and stuff's supposed to happen. That's where I start getting lost, because I'm like, wait, it's not compelling anymore, because it was supposed to be one of those like fantasy worlds where the young kids are going through some sort of training, and I don't know, it just wasn't written. From the point where he goes to the other side, I'm lost. It's a series. I think there's 3 books right now, and I don't know if I'm going to continue because I can't, like, I just couldn't follow. There was a lot that I just was like, I can't even get this. Why this is not compelling enough. There wasn't enough action for me. So for that reason, Pierce Brown, I'm giving Red Rising a D, because you stressed me out whilst reading that. And it was a long read as well. Well, not too long, but it was just, yeah. Red Rising, it's going to be a D tier for me. It was just stressful. It's more so because I expected a lot more as well, and it started well. I mean, it started really really well, but it just was weird in the end. Oh, I can't. Yeah, let's just move on to something even better. Okay, this one was, I liked it, not gonna lie. I like the premise of it. This is Death of Vivek Oji. I like the premise of it. It was very refreshing. It was something really different, right? And it was part of my promise to myself to read like different styles of books, just again diverse books and all that. So this book is by a non-binary queer writer, and I was very interested to see like what they're writing and their perspective. For me, I felt like I had a lot more questions, because I feel like it was thriving a lot on vibes. I could get some parts of it, but I had a lot more questions than I felt unresolved. there were a lot of questions. And being a Nigerian book set in Nigeria, there were so many things that I had to be nitpicky about. I'm sorry, I just had to be. Um, Again, there was a lot of I feel like they wasted a lot of time talking about certain things where they could have built up certain characters and made the story tie a bit more. Again, that's where my questions are. I'm like, instead of telling me about, for instance, this mechanic, or was he, a organizer or something, or like the one about the bank teller, instead of telling me these side stories that have nothing to do with Vekoji or like the gang, like you could have invested time talking more about Vivekoji or his family, his parents, whatever, than this mechanic or the banker you were. I mean, there were just so many side plots that I feel like they wasted time on. So yeah, Death of Vivekoji, as much as, and I think it was also like a BookTok recommendation at some point. I don't know, but yeah, I really I enjoyed it for the most part, but it's gonna be a C for me. Right. The one book that I mentioned that I was fighting for my life when I was reading this book, but I ended up like rating it high is Human Acts. Yeah. I was fighting for my life when I was reading this book. Simply because it is originally a Korean novel that has been transcribed. I don't know if you've ever read international books where they have to like translate it to English. It's always, for me personally, it's always hard to read because some of those books, especially where they're not like from Latin based languages, where it's not like French translated to English or something, where it's like a completely different language, a lot is always lost in context. So I felt lost a lot of, I'm like, wait, am I reading this right? Do I not understand? Like, it was so hard to read initially until I locked in. I remember reading like the first chapter or the first part of the book, because it's like in parts. It's like in five parts, I believe. The one with the boy, or was it the friend? What was it called? And I was thinking to myself, what person, like, is this third person, is this fourth person, is this present tense, participle, past, like what am I reading? So it was really really hard to read. I remember just going back to the author transcribers notes, and they were trying to explain that it was hard contextually to translate certain words or phrases from Korean to English because some of those words don't even exist, some of the emotions don't even exist in English. So I realized that, you know what, like you kind of have to just lock in to be able to read that kind of book, because not gonna lie, I was gasping for air reading this book. Like, God, I was lost. And I realized it's because of the language barriers, the part where I'm reading something that's originally supposed to be read in Korean, where all the nuances still remained, but this has been translated to English and a lot of context has been lost. But once you sort of put yourself in there and like get where it's coming from, you enjoy it. So yes, for the book that was making me fight for my life and making me question what the hell I'm doing reading, will be Human Act. But you know what? It goes on my A tier because in the end, I realized that it was, first of all, it's a book that it's a book that I've never read before. Like I've never read something like that before. Maybe because it's originally Korean, but it's just like on this, like being able to write from perspectives. Like again, I remember the second part being a consciousness. Like it wasn't a person, it was this dead person's consciousness talking. So it's like, how do you even capture how a consciousness, almost like a ghost talking, but in the Korean context, it wasn't necessarily a ghost, it was just a soul. It was a soul, and you have to kind of follow because they're describing things like, oh, I'm seeing bodies, like, do you know what I mean? So it made me be like grow up as a reader and to understand like not everything is going to be easy when you're reading it, right? So as much as it made me fight for my life, I am actually rating it an A. Yes, for sure. Human Acts, very good read, I would say. It's a struggle if you're not into like translated books, but it was good. Speaking of translated books, another one that I read is My Friends by Frederick Backman, who is Swedish. That's another one where I struggled, right? Well, it wasn't as bad, to be fair, because yeah, it wasn't that hard of a struggle like Human Acts was. But what was the struggle for me was that as easy as a translated read that it was, but you can also tell that this was not originally in English, if that makes sense. And for me, it was it wasn't it didn't I don't know how to, I don't want to say it wasn't interesting, but the hype was too much for me. Yeah, that's okay. That's exactly what it is. Friends by Frederick Backman. Even though I understood it, I liked the love story of the friends. I loved how like the love story between these friends, this band of friends, was told just throughout the ages from when they were in school up until the artist died, and just like how we kind of just closed the loop with the girl getting the painting and like finding someone else to sort of transfer and just kind of follow in that same line and helping someone else sort of thing. I liked how that ended, but there was a lot of struggles for me when I was reading it, and you could just tell that because it was a translated novel. I struggled a little bit, so that's why for me, Friends by Frederick Backman, my Friends by Frederick Backman is going to be a B tier. Yeah, I'm gonna just put it on the B tier. It was good, but I got lost a lot of time. For instance, my brain couldn't just picture like a lot of the surroundings, right? I could, and I like to immerse myself, almost like I want to be in the center of where these characters are, but I couldn't picture myself. I couldn't tell. I'm like, I don't know, where am I placing myself here? Like even in the description of, and I think the author was also very deliberate to not give that very descriptive narrative of like what the surroundings were like. So there was a lot of detachment for me. There was a lot of detachment. Like I couldn't place the surroundings properly. Like you're describing this, okay, it's just an alley. It's like, okay, how is this alley? Is this alley in the Bronx? Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's why it's going to be a B tier for me. Not a bad read, but it was one of those things where I also felt like contextually, maybe there was something I was missing. Okay, so just go over our rankings again. I said my S tier is Correspondent, Guest List, Stay With Me, and Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. For my A tier is Strangers by Belle Burden, The Vanishing Half, Kai Runner, Thousand Splendid Suns, Giovanni's Room. I put Human Act. Another one for the A tier for me would be Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Yes, if you know Toni Morrison, you know her stuff is fantastic. Bluest Eye was a reread for me, and I just have to just give it its flowers for an A tier. Again, talks on racism because that's pretty much what Toni Morrison does. But it's, even though this book is like super old, it's still so profound and relevant right now. So can't even give it anything other than an A. B tier is Mothers by Brit Bennett. Already talked about that. Iron Flame and Onyx Storm. One that BookTok made me read, Yellowface. Yellowface. Yellowface was a fun read. Not gonna lie, it was a fun read. It's like, what do you mean, chapter one, she chokes on a pancake? What do you mean? How is she like? How are we straight into accidental death in chapter one? Like I was like, wait, what? If someone's dying in chapter one, what the hell is gonna happen going forward? For me, it was just a book about just someone doubling down on their bad decisions. Like, what do you like? How couldn't you just, girl, not you just stealing Athena's life and just like, you could not just do the one and just move on. Again, it was a fun read, not like super amazing, but really fun read. It's something I honestly, just for fun, I can see myself reading it again because I remember just laughing most of the time. I was like, girl, this lady died. Why would you think there's a ghost? Obviously someone is trying to mess with you. Like, for me, it's like, I don't like, why would you play into this? Why? I was literally just screaming to my phone, like, why? She died in front of you. She died. But I guess that's what happens when you have a guilty conscience. That's what happens when you've done something bad. Guilty conscience really is what, yeah, took her down. But I will give Yellowface a B just because it was a fun read. Honestly, it was so fun. If you're looking for something funny, if you haven't read Yellowface, it's such a fun read. I enjoyed that one, but it wasn't like fun. It wasn't like the best thing ever because like there are things, but very fun read. So that's why it's going to be a B for me. What else have I done? Everything. Yeah, I think the last one I'm going to end on, and this one it's going to be a D. It's Rose in Chains. Don't know why I did it. It was one of those that just had me in a, because I already started. I'm like, okay, it's going to get better. just keep reading, just keep reading, just keep reading. And I kept reading and I just didn't get better. Again, I need to maybe just drop fantasies for a while because this was one of those romanticities. And this is, yeah, oh God, I should drop romanticities for a while. So it's one of those romanticities and it just didn't do it for me. Maybe because it was, first of all, too long. It just didn't do it. And maybe I am already conditioned with the overdramatic writing of Rebecca Yaros and what's her name, the Akota lady. I'm just like I don't know. I was just expecting something, but Rose in Chains didn't do it for me. So yeah, it was annoying as hell. It's gonna be a D. Oh, Rose in Chains. Don't even buy Julie Soto. I don't know if someone has read it and they liked it. Please tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what I'm missing because I didn't enjoy it at all. I just didn't enjoy it. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I could give it another shot. But yeah, that is my ranking so far. I deliberately took out the romance novels because I'm not sure that I can give them. They all read the same to me. Not gonna lie, they were all the same to me. Yes. So and I don't know that they deserve rankings. For me, this is what I feel like I can recommend to you in this order that of my preference. The romance novels, if you're interested, yeah, always a fun read. Not that not that big a deal, not necessarily rank worthy. So yeah, that is my ranking, and I would say that the books that had potential but that didn't really fully land for me yesteryear gets the top. It had so much potential because it started really well. I remember just being like tuned in. I'm like, yes, Trad Wife, I'm there for it. But I wanted to love it so bad, but because she lost me 3/4 of the way through, I just couldn't. I couldn't give her higher than a C. Sorry to say. Yeah. The book that BookTok made me read and they need to explain. I need to speak to committee that made this book go viral. The Year of Rest and Relaxation. Like I know I can't get my time back, but I need an explanation. Please tell me why this book is what it is and why the hell did it go viral? Like, please, it was a bad book. Sorry to say. For me, Friends was not a bad book, but the way people were talking about it, honestly, I thought I was going to meet God. I was like, okay, this is about to change my life. I thought I was going to meet God by reading Friends, but it wasn't necessarily that. One book I absolutely wanted to love. I wanted to love this book so badly. Like, I really, really wanted to love it because I love fantasy, was Red Rising. But again, especially because I said, like, I think the first 10 chapters, it was so good. So I wanted to love it so badly, but it just really let me down. And that's why it's a D. For me, the best book I've read so far, my number one book, this is the book that I will literally erase it from my memory just so I can read it and experience it again, is The Correspondence. This book was so beautiful. So, so, so beautiful. I absolutely would recommend it to anyone. My biggest disappointment was not the worst book, actually. It wasn't the worst book that I read. It wasn't My Year of Rest and Relaxation. It was the book that it hurt me because I expected so much more from it. Honestly, I just expected so much more from yesteryear. It's not the worst book, but I just expected a lot more. You get what I mean? It's just yeah. And these books that I have in the D tier, it's not because they're bad. It's just like, you know what, someone needs to take accountability for how they treated me, the emotional damage caused when I was reading this. That's why you're in the D tier. Not because you're bad, because I read you, but you did too much. Okay, you made me go through what I didn't need to go through. That's why you're in the D tier. Okay. Yep, that's the ranking. That's everything that I've read. And honestly, none of them were necessarily bad books because I read all of them. And because I rated some books as the D tier doesn't mean they were bad. Like it's no hate. It's just that someone needs to take accountability for how I felt whilst I was reading them. That's why. Anyways, yeah. Tell me in the comments your best and worst book of 2026 so far. Because I need to know who's been suffering with me. Who read any of these ones? And let me know in the comments. If you've read any of the books that I've mentioned, tell me whether I was right or wrong. Or, what you think about those books. Do we have similar thoughts about them? One other thing though, I would like recommendations. Recommend one book for me for the second half because I'm starting my second half of the year. What do you think? What recommendation do you think you have that can beat my current number one, which is The Correspondent? Tell me in the comments. I want to know. I really want to get recommendations from other people aside BookTok, honestly. So, yeah, until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and please don't be like me and be enticed by beautiful book covers. Don't let them manipulate you. Or you can, and then you find out the hard way that because it has a good book cover doesn't mean it's a good book. Till next time.